Hello, it's me. I wanted to do a redo of my last video. Just kind of like get into more depths with my other characters, my storylines, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe even talk a little bit more about myself. But I have 3 different storylines. One is like an alien base, one's more like afterlife, and then one's like a slice of life with some mystery in it. And the alien one is more me and my boyfriends, based off 2 characters. I don't know if we'll make more, but so far just 2. Then we have the one with my best friend Kale, which is the afterlife one based. And that one has 4 main characters, but 3 main ones. And then mine. And that one's the slice of life. And, well, mystery. They have a lot of characters. And we'll go through them. I had to redo the take because I realized I made some new characters and I didn't give them a name. Because I didn't even give them a story yet. They're just there. I need them in a background video. But, let's start with the alien one. So, it's based off 2 characters, Rune and Xavier. I kind of unintentionally gave Rune the same similar name to my boyfriend's name, which is Rin. So it kind of gets confusing. But Rune is a very hot-headed alien girl, and she's kind of frosty, kind of cold. And as for Xavier, he's more on the opposite side. He's more outgoing, more smart, more knowing. He's also a bug nerd for Earth, but both aliens hunt humans. And that's like what they do on their ship. Rune used to be a captain on her old ship, but unfortunately, she got her whole fleet murdered by humans, because obviously governments are not going to let humans just hunt their produce. So, unfortunately, she got survivor's guilt, and that's when she became like the lieutenant of her ship. And she met Xavier in this ship. They became partners, not like romantically yet, but like, you know. And that's basically kind of all the lore we have for them. Xavier knew of Rune, and then Rune helped him fix himself, basically. Got the girlfriend effect. And now the deal was, she makes him beautiful. He teaches her about Earth. So, that's that. And then, what else? There was something else with them. I don't know. But, and then with my other plot storyline, with my best friend Kale, he made Alexander, I made Dawn, and I also made Oakley, but he made a different character, which will be for later. But, so, Alex and Dawn are dead. They're just gone. They're gone. And, well, for now. And Alex died first, back in whatever time frame. I'm not good with history. Kale did a lot of research, but Alex died in a war in Vietnam, I think. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Vietnam. Anyway, that war, he died in it from a bombing, which made him into a vengeful spirit. While Dawn, in the early 2000s, she tried to be a influencer because that was kind of big back then, and she got the looks. So she's like, maybe I can do good for that. But unfortunately for her, she got the bad end of the stick, and she got a fan who was a little bit more and wanted to be more because he was a stalker, an old pervy stalker, and she was just not ready for the world, and she unfortunately got killed doing the very thing she loved. And she died being a frightened spirit, a very scared one. And Oakley is alive, and he is getting made fun of in college because basically getting paid with mommy's money because he got his mom to do the work. He also has kind of like a weird kid vibe, but in college, so a lot of adults are kind of making fun of him for that. So he tried to be hip and tried to do some dark magic. He just wanted to do some dark magic. So he found the remains of 2 people that died in his little city or town and brought them back with some dark magic, which led to him, bringing them back, meeting the spirits, them having to, because he obviously wanted to know their lore, so they eventually tell him. I think Alex might not be as keen to tell him, but that's kind of it for them right now that I can think of. I know the entity is a big part of it, but we'll get to it. And then for my characters, sit back and relax. So we're starting off with the 3 main group, and those are Lizzie, Holly, and Jack. Those 3 are the main characters so far. I might make the other groups more main, but once I get overwhelmed, I kind of restart my whole thing, so I'm trying to focus on 3 of them. But so after those 3, there is a secondary group, and that is of Dawn, a different Dawn, because I like to reuse names a lot. Dawn, Sandy, and Amara. And then after those, there are 4 other characters, maybe 5. I don't know. One of them are not a very good person, but we'll get into that too. But there is Nina, Willow. I just named them. Willow, Axton, Ari, and did I say Jackson already? I probably did. But there's Jackson, and then there's Rose, which she is very important to my story, and so is Jackson. My favorite of my story is Holly, and I really hate Jackson, but he's for the story. Wait, I think I named him a different name. I think I named him Michael, because when I was thinking about it, because Jack and then Jackson, it kind of makes it sound bad, so I gave him a different name. Pretend I said Michael. Or Mark, I don't know. But, so, let's get into the main 3 so far. We'll do Lizzie first, because her story is a little bit more shorter, but she's a shapeshifter from a different planet. She was cast here because she didn't eat humans. Well, she did, but she also was she kind of found out they can talk, and she was like, ugh, I really don't want to talk to my food. Yeah, at the end of the day, she still kind of eats people. I don't know, it's kind of hard. Would you stop eating a cheeseburger because it started talking to you? I didn't think so. But, so that's kind of Lizzie's lore. She's trying to get better. And the other two know she's a shapeshifter, but they don't know she eats humans. Then Jack is kind of also important to the plot because he's like one of the, I'll say the main three. But back in the day, he was very confident, very, what's the word? Very full of himself. Let's just say that. He thought fighting made him a man. He thought maybe his little crush would like him if he was strong and tall. But it didn't work out that way. Because his crush was Rose. And Rose did not like fighting. She did not like violence. She was just one of those kids that no one hated her. No one liked, well, everyone kind of liked her. She didn't have anything wrong with her. She didn't talk smack about everyone. They're like 13 at this time. So like, they didn't have much going on. She didn't care if you were anything. I don't know. She just did not care. She just wanted to be friends with everyone. And that led to, like, her being friends with, like, most of the cast. But Holly also comes into play with this whole thing because she was dating Jackson. And at first, because this is her first ever boyfriend. She's a rich girl. She's very popular. Not, well, like, kind of, like, popular, not as good as, like, I almost said Amar, Rose, but she's just, like, popular, not as popular as Rose. She's just more pretty, rich. Everyone wants to be her friend because of those reasons. And that can lead to some problems in the future, but not as popular as Rose. Well, they're kind of on the same tier, just, like, for different reasons. But she started dating Jackson, who was the school's bad boy. And she really learned quickly that bad boy is bad for a reason. She started dating this guy. She's madly in love with this dude. Madly in love. First boyfriend, going well. Until things didn't go well. And she started to notice that he was drinking. So, there's that. Underage drinking. Not good. But she also started to notice he's also kind of, like, violent. Kind of, like, weird. It's like almost like people who smoke and drink underage are going to be violent. She also just knows that he doesn't have a very good personality, but she loves him. So she thinks. Until he gets physical. And sexual. And she's going through it. She's very miserable. Until... Did I call him Jackson again? I meant to call... Okay. Every time I say Jackson, say Michael. Because, oops. But Michael... He hit her in public. Oh my goodness. Public space, and Jack was there. Jack was there with Rose, and to show off his manly skills, he beat him to a pulp. And Michael was not having that. He took a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and it did not go well, because after school, they all met up, and it was a whole thing, because he was a little upset about him getting his biscuits beaten. So, he obviously decided that is his sign to fight him. After school, getting drunk, getting high, bringing weapons, and when Jack heard that he wanted to fight him, he obviously agreed, and he begged Rose. He was like, you have to come see. You have to come see me win. And Rose agreed, not because she wanted to see him fight, but because she was scared he might get hurt. And unfortunately for Rose, she did not know that was going to be her last choice she ever made. Because during that fight, Jack and Michael were getting into it, getting very physical and violent. And Holly begged for Michael, I almost said Jackson again, to just leave it. And Michael, why would he let a woman say that to him? So he beat her. I beat her bloody, beat her biscuits. And that made Jack kinda angry, because Holly is a very short queen. She's a very short, petite queen. And that's why I love her, because usually when I make short characters, they're usually like overpowered, but she's just fragile this time around. And it's like weird, because I never do that with my characters, but like this time it is. That's why she's my favorite this time around. I always make the unique characters my favorite. But so that did not go well with Jack, because he has some morals not to beat a child. Well, they're all children here, but like a smaller woman. He knows not to lay his hands on a woman. Like, that's surprising. But so Jack fought him harder. And Michael felt himself losing. Instead of giving up, he had to be a man. And so he pulled out a pew-pew. And unfortunately, he was drunk. He was very drunk. And so no teenager, especially a stupid one, can aim a pew-pew at a person and get it. So he took a pew-pew, and it didn't hit Jack. It hit Rose. Square in the face. Square in the face. And she was unalived before she could hit the ground. So there's that. And I guess things were very different in the school, because they're kind of like Queen got like unalived, and that was like kind of messed up. And when the police arrived, everyone, even Michael's friends, were just like, yeah, he did it. So he got arrested. And during this time period, Lizzie shows up. And Lizzie, she's a shapeshifter. So she just comes around. She's like, hello. Hello, everyone. And I think I'm going to make Jack find her first. And they had to, talk about how she's a shapeshifter and how she got to this world and all that kind of stuff. And then they started talking to Holly, because Holly completely changed. Because during this time period, when she was getting her biscuits buttered and all that kind of stuff, she went into depression. Kind of surprising for that kind of response, It was just like, kind of crazy. And Jack was also depressed. And it was like a perfect time to trauma bond. And of course, Lizzie was there too. And so that's how that story goes. Then we're going to move on to like the other three, because they're also important. But so what are their names again? Sandy, Dawn, Amara. So I'm trying to, like, think about their lore. Okay, Dawn was best friends with Holly. Best friends. But after, the whole incident about being used and all that stuff, Holly did not know if Dawn was just her best friend or someone to be using her. So, she kind of tossed Dawn out of there. And then Dawn understood. Dawn would have probably unalived what's his name? Michael, and she had found out. Because Dawn happened to be very, very strong. She was also very popular. She was like one of the mean girls, basically. But after the time skip, things changed. She became more kind, more caring. I feel like trauma really changes people. Because it can really change your way of how you see things. Especially when someone you know dies. Well, unalive, I don't know. It makes you see things differently, I think. It makes you realize just how short life is. Makes you think maybe being angry all the time isn't worth it. And that's how Jack was. He went from being very angry and very confident to being very more put to himself kind of thing. I think he was more scared to lose someone else than himself. And Holly was scared to lose herself more than anyone else. Because she lost herself once, she doesn't even know who she is. And that's her whole story, is her trying to find out who she is. And Lizzie's just Lizzie. And she's there. And I think she's gonna have some trouble, like, figuring out who she is. Because, like, honestly, who she turned into isn't her. She just had to have, like, a human-looking self. So, because, like, Dawn's little trauma response is also kind of similar to Jack. She realized being mean to others could probably change things, It could be the last time you talk to someone, even if you hate the person. Maybe not be a total bitch. But, Sandy, his whole life, he had a huge crush on Holly. He was devastated to know she went for a bad boy because he was like the weird kid, and she was popular, and everyone said it was cliche, and he kind of looks like a girl, and Holly's obviously into men, and poor Sandy, because he knew Michael was not a good person. He didn't know just how bad of a person he was, but he knew he was bad. Because also, he saw him smoking. That means you're a bad person, obviously. But Sandy shortly found out just how bad he was treating her. And not him, like Michael treating Holly. And he might have lost a temper. And he was just very upset that he couldn't have helped her. And he just wants to get better. And he really wants to be friends with that group. And so does Dawn. She just kind of wants to be friends with her best friend again. So maybe I'll do some more of that where they're like all gonna want to talk to her. Now for Mara. Poor Mara. She's also a very interesting character. She was born into a cult. Well, kinda. She was kind of like, I'm gonna say like age 5. She got put in there, so she kind of knew life outside a cult. And, things kind of sucked. And she grew older. She grew up into this cult. She kind of cult-like, emotionalist. And then they were like, we gotta sacrifice someone. Amara. And Amara knew one thing. She did not want to die in this place. So she ran off. And she also kinda ran off from a bath or whatever place. It was from the, what's it called? altar when she's about to get murdered, unalived. Oopsies. I don't know what YouTube allows and what it doesn't allow, but so there's that. And there's that. And so she ran off, butterball naked, into the woods. And Dawn and Sandy found her at a gas station. And luckily for her, she was found by them, not someone like Michael. And so now she's just she's living with an aunt. Man, she's just living with an aunt now because they went through CPS. Because also he's just a 13-year-old girl running around butterball naked in a forest. And she got everyone in the cult arrested. There's that. She also, I think she favors Dawn more because she's like the first ever female to show her kindness. And because, like, you know, in the cult, there's also going to be the head guy. And man, I'm not saying all men are bad, but you know, like, you kind of fear what hurts you. So there's that. And now for the other characters, maybe I'm just gonna make up lore where we stand. But then there's Rose. You heard about Rose. I made Nina. She's a little cutie. She's blind. That's what I got for her. She's blind, she's cute, and I love her. I can't wait to do more for her. Come up with ideas for her. I know Ari was best friends with Rose. Like, best friends. Like, girl best friend. And maybe she might have felt more for her. And doomed Yuri. Gotta have it. Rose dies. Ari, she's very upset. She's very in her feels. She kind of resents Jack because, you know, it's kind of his fault. But we won't say that. Who else did I say? Willow, what a character she is. I have no story for her, but she's a witch. She's a witch. How can you tell? I love her design. I might change it a little, though, because, you know, gotta make it good. Oh, Axton, that's who I'm forgetting. But we'll talk about Willow. Because I was thinking, if there's shapeshifters, what else is there in this world? So, maybe I'll make Axton also a different creature. But, like, who knows? It'd be kind of funny to have, like, a creature off. But I'm thinking Axton was best friends with Jack. Like, you know, like, jock-wise. And he kind of felt pity for Jack. But we'll get into more than that. But I need to make some more lore for these characters. I adore all my characters. I might change a little bit about him too. I keep forgetting that there is a slice of life so they can change their outfits. But like, man, do I get like, I don't like this outfit. Like Willow, I'm not sure if I like her outfit. I don't think I like her fit. But I don't know. Maybe. Who else am I missing? I kind of based Sandy off of myself because, like, his trauma-wise. Because I like to say he has some problems, but it's not as bad as the others. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, he didn't really necessarily like Rose. He liked her, but he didn't, like, saw what the hype was. For Holly, her mom passed away giving birth to her, but her dad, surprisingly in the Scottish community, he didn't hate her for that. He saw his wife cherished her daughter, and he cherishes her because that is his baby girl, so he spoils her. And she also kind of looks like her mom, so there's that. I'm thinking Jack has a mom and maybe a very toxic dad. I don't know, I'll give them some kind of lore. But I do know Lizzie's mom was the tribe leader of her little shapeshifter clan. So, she kind of has, like, mommy issues. Like, why did you leave me, mommy? And stuff like that. She also was kind of, like, upset because her older brother is kind of taking over the tribe, and how things are in the tribe is girls rule the tribe. So, like, why is a guy ruling? And so what if he doesn't... I choke out my spit. But, like, so what if he's better than her in every shape and way? So what? Gosh. But, so, he's tribe leader. She gets angry. She wants to be the leader. Change some things around here. Gets kicked out of, like, the void. Now she's in Earth. And she gotta make friends with all these humans. She gotta learn the human way. And unfortunately for her, human ways also mean you can't eat your cheeseburger. Especially Holly, because Holly's like goody two-shoes. That's kind of it for that storyline. Maybe I'll make other storyline. I kind of want to make other OCs. I don't know. I might change everything again. Talking about it makes me realize how I could be better. So much better. But, again, let me know if there's anything else you want me to do, talk about, anything else. I'm up for anything. I'm a bum, certified bum. I don't got much going on. So, thank you.